This is Donetto, and I'm going to do the mixed girl tag. Number 1, what are you mixed with? So my dad is part Native American, and my mom is this really exotic looking white woman. That is true, and it's also a quote from Jade on America's Next Top Model. Basically, if you're a black American and you have ancestors who are enslaved in the United States, there's the pretty large chance that you're going to have some white and Indian mixed in with you, just because of the nature of slavery and the interracial mixing. I'm actually adopted, so my mom is white, my dad is white, part Native American. I have 3 older white sisters and 2 younger black brothers. My biological parents are both black, non-recent immigrants, so that means that my ancestors came from Africa. What ethnicity have you often been mistaken for? Oddly enough, I've been mistaken for a lot of different things. I've had people tell me that they thought that I had an accent, they thought I was Jamaican. Someone told me they thought that I had a British accent and they were foreign. I don't even know. It didn't make any sense to me. I obviously don't have a British accent, so I don't know where they would get that from. You know, a lot of times people think that I'm from some island in the Caribbean, or they think that I'm African. I've got an Ethiopian, Kenyan, Nigerian. The other odd thing is, I've been getting a lot of people asking if I was mixed since I started wearing my hair natural. Which is crazy to me because black people have all different types of hair and all different types of curl pattern. I think it's mostly just because a lot of people aren't used to seeing black women with naturally curly hair, so they assume, since it hasn't been the norm for so long, that if you have any type of curl to your hair, then you must be mixed with something. Obviously, we're all mixed with different things. It just might be further back in your family, as opposed to recently mixed, like one parent's white and one parent's black. Is your hair curly or straight? So my hair is naturally kinky curly. I wear it in a lot of different styles, and sometimes I wear it straight. Was coming from different backgrounds challenging growing up? I guess it had its pros and its cons, but for the most part, since I came to live with my family since I was 5 days old, that's the only family that I've ever known. I guess it would be different if I was adopted into a family at a much older age. It wasn't a shock or anything because as far as I could remember, I always knew that I was black and I knew that my parents were white, and they talked to me about race and ethnicity early on. In elementary school, I was the only black girl in my whole elementary school, and I guess a pro was everyone was obsessed with my hair. I used to always wear my hair in braids with beads. Everybody loved my hair. But being the minority, I looked at all of my white friends who would be playing with each other's hair and combing their hair during like circle time, and I just wanted to wear my hair down. That's what I would continuously tell my mom, like, I just want to wear my hair down. In retrospect, it seems funny that I said that I always wanted to wear my hair down, because even when I took out my braids, my texture doesn't fall down, it sticks out. But basically, what I ultimately wanted in elementary school was a perm, so because I kept nagging my mom and asking for it over and over, she finally gave in and let me perm my hair in 3rd grade. And I remember the first day I went to school with straight hair. My hair was like all the way down my back, like you couldn't tell me anything. Until it started all breaking off. And that's because the lady who used to braid my hair told my mom that she could do perms good, but when she had to give me the touch-ups, instead of just like applying the relaxer to my roots, she applied it the full length of my hair. So it obviously started breaking off, and by 4th grade my hair was probably about this long. Yeah, so hair struggles, that was the challenge. That's another story for another day. Yeah, I didn't really have any black friends until 6th grade. By high school there was maybe 40 black kids out of 1,200. They weren't very accepting of me, probably because I thought that I was better than them, or that I spoke white, or that I was an Oreo. I never felt the need to have to be friends with someone just based on race. I guess one of the pros of that in high school was that if I had lunch and none of my good friends were in my lunch, I knew that I never had to sit at a table alone and look like a loser. I always had a seat at the black table. So. Also, I thought it was interesting that the first person I dated in high school was white, and he was on the football team, And one day I wore his jersey to school on a game day, and I literally had like everyone coming up to me asking me, are you dating so-and-so? It would be all the white girls, the black guys, which is interesting to me because the black guys at my school, they dated white girls all the time and nobody said anything to them, like it was never an issue. But as soon as I wanted to date someone who wasn't black, then all of a sudden they were upset, which is ridiculous to me because number one, they were never trying to date me, so why would you care if I wasn't dating you or someone who looked like you? And number two, you date outside your race. So. Another thing that was challenging was my adoption was one of the first cases in Michigan where a judge allowed a white family to adopt a black child, and even though I had lived with my family since I was 5 days old, I wasn't adopted until I was 4 years old, and that's because the judge, he was a white judge, he did not want white people raising a black child. He was very openly racist all throughout the whole court battle. And he basically tried to make it so that my 17-year-old cousin, when she turned 18, would be able to adopt me. And I used to go on family visits with them. I would see them, I don't know, I don't really remember because it was all before the age of 4. I just know that I never wanted to go on the family visits because I felt like I already had a family, I didn't know them, I didn't feel comfortable around them, and it's just, in retrospect, it's crazy to me to think that this judge wanted me to be adopted by my cousin, who is a child herself, because of her skin tone. When I had a loving family that I had been raised in since I was 5 days old, like that's the family that I always knew. You would want to take me from a stable home and move me into another family just based on skin tone, which is crazy. Was coming from different backgrounds, challenging growing up. So because I was the only black girl in my elementary school and there wasn't that many black kids in my community, by default, the majority of my friends were white. And interestingly enough, when I went to college and I went to the University of Michigan for undergrad, it completely flipped. So most of my friends in college are black. I guess it was probably based more on convenience because the black people would be more friendly towards me and would put in more effort to be my friend. I felt like the non-black friends that I had, if you were a person of color, you had to put in a lot more effort to try to be their friends, if that makes any sense. Like, they weren't necessarily trying to be friends with people outside of their race. Which backgrounds do you embrace the most? I feel like I'm just me. Like, I don't choose one thing over the other. I was raised in a multiracial family, and I embrace the cultures that I grew up with, along with my black ethnicity and the culture that I share with friends that I met throughout the years. Have you ever been teased for being different? I was teased by black kids when I was young. I remember I went to Little Caesarland, which was in a primarily black community, and I had to be like between the ages of 4 and 6. And I remember I was playing on one of the structures and these black girls ran up to me and one girl pulled my hair and told me that my hair was fake. And I remember going to my mom feeling upset, like, I don't know why they would do that and I don't know why they thought my hair was fake, which I'd never started wearing extensions until middle school, so I didn't even have any concept of people would have fake hair if they had braids. Like, my hair was always in braids, which is a protective style, so that helped it grow long. Other black kids would call me an Oreo, black on the outside, white on the inside, because I didn't speak like them. One of my classmates told me that I was brown-skinned because I was left in the oven for too long, and my hands and my feet were balled up, so that's why the front of my hands are white, and the rest of me is black, because I was burnt in the oven. I guess I didn't realize that being dark-skinned was an issue until I started hanging out with black people more, because non-black people would always rave about my skin tone. They would always tell me that they loved my complexion. I had such beautiful skin. Like, I would go outside in the summertime. I would tan with my white sisters. They would slap on baby oil and tanning oil on me. I would lay out and bake in the sun and get super dark, and I never had an issue with it. It wasn't until I started hanging out with black people that they would be like, why are you in the sun? Like, you don't need to be getting any darker. Like, you don't need to go swimming. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, pretty much against all the fun summer things that I used to do. Yeah, that's pretty much when I stumbled upon the whole colorism, which is a whole nother conversation we can have for another day. Have you ever been ashamed of being multiracial? Multicultural, a black girl in a white family. I guess one thing that would make me feel awkward is when I would go out with my white sisters or just my dad or my mom, and people would assume, I don't know, they would just have their own assumptions about what the whole relationship was, which would make me feel weird if I like went to dinner with my dad, and my dad is now in his 60s, and had people staring at us like, what is this old white man doing with this young black girl? Yeah. I was babysitting my niece and nephew for a week while my sister was out of town, and I went to visit my dad. I brought my niece and nephew, my brother was over, we all took like a family trip to go to the duck farm, which is like, it's like an old-fashioned candy store. So as we were going through the checkout, my dad was paying for everything, and she had asked if I wanted my nephew's stuff in my bag, and I said that's fine. So as she was speaking to my nephew, she was like, we'll put that in mommy's bag. And my niece and nephew are both white, they both have blonde hair. My nephew has blonde hair, blue eyes. Like, I can't really imagine anyone thinking that he would be mixed. But it was just crazy to me because in my mind, I'm just like thinking, like, what type of relationship do you, like, what are the relations that came into your mind? I'm confused. A 67-year-old white man, my brother, you got me, and two twin 4-year-olds that are brother and sister, and you just told my nephew that you're gonna put it in my bag and I'm the mother. I don't know, it was just really weird. I think coming from a mixed background does have its benefits because you're exposed to different cultures and different traditions. So I feel completely comfortable hanging out with white people. I feel comfortable hanging out with black people. I feel comfortable hanging out with all different types of ethnicities because I was raised to accept others and not discriminate against people based on their skin tone. And being able to grow up in a community like that, it makes it easier to relate to lots of different types of people. Any advice for people who are struggling with their multiracial identity? Work on your own self-acceptance. That's like the biggest thing. Once I stopped relaxing my hair, that was like a huge step in self-acceptance because I didn't feel like I needed to conform to the dominant standard of beauty, and by not conforming, that just allowed me to see myself in a much more positive way. Random awkward story from 3rd grade. So we had to do a project on your ethnicity and your background. Basically, I was just told to pick a country in Africa and just say that that's where I'm from. I just conveniently picked Kenya because I had a black doll named Kenya. Mind you, the logical thing for the teacher to tell me to do should have been to pick a country on the west coast of Africa because that's where the majority of slaves that came to the United States were taken from. So I did my report on Kenya, and I'm pretty sure I brought in fruit salad, which has nothing to do with Kenya. Everybody thought that I was from Africa. Like, I think they literally thought that I was like one of those starving children you see in those UNICEF commercials, and I was like adopted from like an impoverished country in Africa. My best friend in 3rd grade, she thought that I was like from Kenya, and her grandmother took a trip to Africa and went to a bunch of different countries, one of them being Kenya, and I remember she brought me back a shirt that said Kenya, and I just felt so awkward because like I knew that I wasn't from Africa, but I didn't have the heart to tell her that I wasn't from Kenya because her grandmother had gone there and her grandmother thought that I was from Kenya and had been nice enough to give me this shirt. So I felt uncomfortable to wear it because I knew that I was not from Kenya, but I also felt uncomfortable to give it away. So I basically kept it in the bottom of my dresser drawer until a few years ago when I had moved all of my old stuff out of my dad's house when he got remarried. Are any of you guys adopted? If you are, do you have any similar stories as to what I shared? Or did you have any struggles growing up? I'd love to hear your stories. Leave me some comments below, and I'll see you guys in my next video.